Holding a news conference right now. Let's listen in.
Justin was in New York City to speak at an investor conference. It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the conference hotel, the suspect approached from behind, striking the victim at least once in the back and at least once in the right calf. Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for his intended target. The suspect fled, first on foot, then on an e-bike, and was last seen in Central Park on Center Drive early this morning. The victim was removed to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced. We've been in touch with his family, his friends, and his colleagues, and they are very much in our thoughts and prayers. Investigative efforts of the New York City Police Department are well underway, and we will not rest until we identify and apprehend the shooter in this case. The women and men of the NYPD take enormous pride in to drive down crime and violence in our city. Right now, we are asking if you have any information about this case, call Crime Stoppers in this case to $10,000. I want to be clear. At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. Millions of people will be enjoying the tree lighting tonight, among other holiday events, and the NYPD will be out there with them, keeping them safe. For some preliminary details about today's tragic incident, I pass it over to our Chief of Detectives, Chief Joe Kenny.
Thank you, Commissioner. The information I'm about to give you is preliminary as our investigation is continuing. This morning at 6:46 a.m., patrol officers from Midtown North Precinct responded to a 911 call of a person shot in front of the Hilton Hotel located at 1335 Avenue of the Americas. This is between West 53rd Street and West 54th Street. At 6:48 a.m., officers arrive and find the victim, Brian R. Thompson, a 50-year-old male, on the sidewalk in front of the Hilton with gunshot wounds to his back and leg. Mr. Thompson was removed by EMS to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Mr. Thompson is the CEO of UnitedHealthcare and resides in Minnesota. Detectives from Night Watch, Midtown North Detective Squad, and Manhattan South Homicide responded to the scene and began their investigation. What we know is that the shooter arrived at the location on foot about 5 minutes prior to the victim's arrival. He stands alongside the building line as numerous other people and pedestrians pass him by. From video, we see at 6:44 a.m., the victim is walking alone towards the Hilton after exiting his hotel across the street. We believe the victim was headed to the Hilton Hotel to attend the United Health Group Investors Conference that was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. The shooter appears to be a light-skinned male. He's wearing a light brown or cream-colored jacket, a black face mask, black and white sneakers, and a very distinctive gray backpack. The shooter steps onto the sidewalk from behind the car. He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back. The shooter then walks toward the victim and continues to shoot. It appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. The shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas towards Central Park, where at 6:48 a.m. we have the shooter riding this bike into Central Park at Center Drive. At the scene, we recover 3 live 9mm rounds and 3 discharged 9mm shell casings. The motive for this murder currently is unknown, but based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear that the victim was specifically targeted, but at this point we do not know why. This does not appear to be a random act of violence. We are seeking information from the public to help identify the shooter. As the Commissioner said, we have upped the reward up to $10,000 for information. You're urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-577-TIPS. All information will be kept anonymous. Thank you very much.
All right, well, we're going to open up to a couple of questions. We're going to start off with Shimon, CNN. So it's about an hour and 20 minutes before the start of the conference. Is there any indication that he was going to meet someone? Because it's pretty early. Is he on his way to meet someone there at the conference?
He leaves the hotel dressed like he's going to be attending the conference. We're working with his co-workers and other people that he planned on attending the conference with to get that information. But as of right now, he's in charge of the conference, so we believe he was getting there to help set up.
And then just the city bike, if I may. Do we know where that city bike is now? Does he dock it or does he keep riding it?
We're still tracking video. The last we see with him on that bike is in Central Park.
Is there a way to track that bike?
There are GPSs on those bikes. We'll be working with the company.
All right, we're going to move over. We're going to go NJ Birkin.
Thank you. Chief, were any words exchanged? If so, what were the words? I'm told a cell phone was recovered in an alleyway on his escape route. Does that appear to be connected to the cell phone?
We're working through that cell phone. Obviously, we'll be processing it forensically. And as far as words being exchanged, we do not have audio of the incident. We only have the regular video.
But nothing from witnesses?
Nothing. Well, there was one witness standing right next to the victim when he was shot. We're still trying to identify that victim. Excuse me, that witness.
We're going to go over to Aaron Katursky.
Thank you. Chief, was he checked into the hotel across the street alone? Was he in the city alone? Was he accompanied by anybody? Did he have any known enemies or anyone that you've been able to find so far?
Like I said, we're reaching out to law enforcement in Minnesota, and we're also interviewing his co-workers and family members to see if there have been any specific threats against him in the past. As far as who was he in the hotel with, we're doing a search warrant in his hotel room right now. That might lead us, give us some more information.
All right, we're going to go over to Dean Moses.
A couple of questions. One, based on the surveillance we've seen of this individual, do you feel like he's professional? You mentioned that he did the bullet spell. Do you feel like this was a professional individual who took this man's life? And also, will it affect in any way tree life tonight?
I'll answer the part about whether or not he's a professional. That we have no way of knowing that. From watching the video, it does seem that he's proficient in the use of firearms, as he was able to clear the malfunctions pretty quickly. But as far as the tree lighting, I'll leave that to Chief Madrick.
Yes. Good morning, Dean. Just really quick, this incident will not affect the tree lighting. The tree lighting is slated to start at 7 p.m. The show, the actual lighting of the tree will be close to 10 o'clock, actually 9:55 p.m. We will have a massive police presence out there around Rockefeller Center from 52nd Street all the way down to 47th Street. We will have plainclothes out there, a plainclothes detail out there. We will have our CRC assets, our Strategic Response Group assets. We will have our Intel division out there, a lot of assets out there to make sure people can come out and have a good time. And we're going to have additional police officers in the subways as well, so people can take mass transit to make it easier to travel into the city and enjoy the tree. This is a terrible event, but we're going to go on, and people are going to enjoy the tree lighting tonight.
All right, we're going to move over to Marcia Kramer.
I wonder if you could tell me, the mayor said that there was evidence recovered at the scene that would indicate that this was not a random event. I wonder if you could tell me what that evidence was. And by looking at the gun, it appears that there's a silencer on the gun. Was there a silencer on the gun? And does this indicate not only that it was premeditated, but this is somebody who knew his way around guns and might have been a professional?
Once again, we won't know that until we complete our investigation and identify the shooter or recover that firearm. You see a glimpse of the gun in video, so we're not able to make a determination on whether or not a silencer was used on that quick glimpse of video.
Is that a silencer?
We can't tell from that little glimpse of video. I'm not going to commit to saying that at this time. That would be part of our investigation.
And what evidence did you...
There's a cell phone recovered in the alleyway, and once again, we will process that forensically and see if it comes back to this shooting.
So you don't think that the cell phone was part of Brian Thompson's?
Once again, this investigation is less than 5 hours old. That will be part of our investigation.
All right, we're going to move on to Joe Marino, New York Post.
Chief, do we know when Thompson arrived in New York City? My understanding is he was staying close by to the Hilton, but not at the Hilton. And has anything in the reverse video canvas indicated that these two individuals crossed paths at all?
As of right now, based on the current video that we do have, it doesn't appear that they crossed paths, and he arrived in New York on Monday.
All right, we're going to take 2 or 3 more. We're going to go Rocco, Daily News.
Chief, did he typically travel with a security detail? And even though it's early, is there anything to indicate that there had been issues with let's say, a patient who was denied coverage, either back in Minnesota or more recently, someone who lives here?
From speaking to other employees that traveled with him to New York, it doesn't seem that he had a security detail. He left the hotel by himself. Was walking, didn't seem like he had any issues at all. So I don't think he did not have a security detail.
And as far as denied coverage, I know that's typically an issue with these major companies. Any reason to believe he had been the subject of a threat?
Once again, we're looking at everything. We're looking at his social media. We are interviewing employees. We are interviewing family members. We will be speaking to law enforcement in Minnesota.
We're going to do 2 more before we wrap up. Shayna?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask if any cursory look at any social media, whether it's the company, whether it's his personal social media, his family's, is there anything obvious that sticks out at this early stage in the investigation?
We have not uncovered anything at this time. The investigation is still too early.
We're going to go last question over here with Jake.
How's it going? With the suspect still at large, last seen in Central Park, are you urging New Yorkers to avoid the park? Is the NYPD deploying its drones? I know they recently started doing that in the park. And then also I was wondering, is there any indication when he gets this city bike that he's a city bike member? It's like sometimes if you're not a member, you can pay to use it. I don't know if you're able to tell on surveillance.
City, but the chief of detectives will answer the part about the city bike. But in terms of we're encouraging New Yorkers to go about their daily lives and their daily business, but to be alert. We put the picture out. You're putting the picture out. We want people to take a look. If they see anything suspicious, if they hear anything suspicious, we ask them to call 911, reach out to our detectives. With an incident like this, of course, we put a heavy deployment into Manhattan. We put additional resources out. We have the drones up. We have aviation out. We have K-9 out. When an incident like this happens, we don't spare any expense. We put all of our resources out there to support the chief of detectives' mission and to keep New Yorkers safe. So we will have a massive presence out there around the tree lighting, but throughout Manhattan as well until more information develops and we're able to support the chief of detectives and what he needs to make a quick arrest.
As far as where he got the city bike, we're still working that through. Like I said, we're pulling video from numerous locations, numerous sources, and we have him on our timeline walking, and what we're very fortunate is he has that very distinctive gray backpack on. So we see him on one video clip walking, and then another source of video, him riding that bike. So we don't have video or witness confirmation on how he obtained that bike. A cell phone was recovered. We will confirm that later on down if we, do our forensic examination.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our press conference. Thank you for your time and attention.
And you've been watching breaking news here of the press conference taking place. Started about 15 minutes ago on this UnitedHealthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, originally from Minnesota, who was here in New York City for an investors meeting for today, was involved in an attack this morning that the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, quoted as saying it was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. 3 rounds were recovered at the scene. The shooting took place 6:48 this morning. At 7:12, the the victim, Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, was pronounced dead at Roosevelt Hospital. Suspect is still on the loose at this hour. Police have a picture of that suspect, which is out now. Let's get live to Jessica Moore down on the scene for a little bit more of what we heard as we continue to break down what not only Jessica Tisch, but Joe Kenny, the chief of detectives, had to say over the last couple of minutes. Jessica.
Yeah, well, Chris, to your point earlier, they wanted to remind New Yorkers this appears by every piece of fact that they can draw from that this was a targeted hit. New Yorkers at large are not in danger. However, that suspect wearing that light-colored backpack, light-skinned man who apparently carried out this hit on Brian Thompson is still at large. Last seen in Central Park on Center Drive with that city bike. We've learned a little bit more about Brian Thompson as well. He was a father of 2 based in Minnesota. That's where UnitedHealthcare is also based there in Minneapolis. This is a household name in health insurance. He had been the CEO since 2021. 50 years old. He was in town to address investors for the company's 2024 Investor Relations Conference. It's basically when the company executives tell the investors how the company is doing economically, financially, help them measure how they're going to invest in the company. He's staying at the Marriott Lux just a couple of blocks from here, walking to give his speech speech, which was scheduled to be live streamed, I might add, at 8 o'clock this morning from a ballroom here at the Hilton Hotel. And as he's walking into the hotel, that gunman, who police say was lying in wait, shot him twice in the back and leg. Thompson, of course, was pronounced dead at the hospital, and the suspect took off. We've been hearing that he was very active in his community there in Minneapolis. Police say that they have been trying to get in touch with his family, try to figure out why he might have been targeted. Police say he definitely was targeted by all intents and purposes from what they're able to detect right now, but they don't know exactly why. So they've been trying to talk to people who know him, scour social media. They also found a cell phone at the scene, which they've been combing through. Two sources have told us that it appears there was a silencer on that gun, which would imply that this was some sort of a professional hit. Marsha Kramer grilled the police officers about that, chief of detectives, about that. He wouldn't confirm, but that picture of the gun does appear to have a silencer on it. And right now they're just saying they don't know why this man was targeted. The gunman is still on the loose, but they do believe that he was, in fact, targeted. 50 years old, father of two, from Minneapolis, just flew into town for this investor relations conference. The Hilton has said that they are very devastated about what has happened. They have canceled, UnitedHealthcare has canceled this conference given the circumstances. Chris?
This very scary, dangerous targeted attack at about 6:46 this morning right in Midtown Manhattan. On a day with this investors conference set to take place, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, Brian Thompson, in town from Minnesota, been in town since Monday, was targeted in a premeditated, pre-planned targeted attack on the streets of Midtown New York. Our coverage continues right here on CBS News New York at noon. Stay with us.
This is CBS News New York.
We will not rest until we identify and apprehend the shooter in this case.
And right now at noon, our breaking news coverage continues of the deadly shooting of the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. As you just heard, the NYPD giving a briefing just moments ago. The victim, CEO Brian Thompson, pictured here, shot and killed in a targeted attack in Midtown Manhattan by a gunman who was lying in wait. A massive manhunt now underway for that suspect at this hour. Good afternoon to you once again. I'm Chris Raggi. Thank you for being with us. This all unfolding outside the Hilton Midtown Hotel on 6th Avenue on West 54th, just before 7 this morning. That's where UnitedHealthcare was holding its annual investors conference. We have live team coverage for you this noon of this massive story, covering every angle from the victim to the manhunt for the gunman to security. Let's begin with Natalie Duddridge and the very latest from the scene. Natalie, you were first on the scene to report for us this morning when we heard about this news.
That's right, Chris, and we did just hear from the police commissioner, top police officials, but I do want to give you a sense of what's happening here right at the location. We first got the call this morning before 7 o'clock. We rushed out here. You can see right now still a very heavy police presence. We have dozens of officers here on the scene. They are blocking off West 54th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue to both pedestrians and traffic. This shooting happening just shortly before 7 outside of the Hilton Midtown Hotel. This is at 6th Avenue near West 54th Street. The NYPD confirming 50-year-old UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot in the back and the calf. He was rushed to Roosevelt Hospital but did not survive his injuries. Police released 2 photos of the person they are looking for. In one of them, you can see him holding a gun, wearing a mask, a cream jacket, and a gray backpack. In another, you can see him riding a bicycle. Again, police believe he was this was a targeted attack, not a random shooting. They tell CBS News investigators have video of the shooting. They say it appears the shooter was actually waiting for the victim before opening fire. Officials say video shows the shooter ignoring other pedestrians and people walking by. And then once he shoots, continues to shoot. And then at some point, it appears that the gun malfunctions. Then he flees. Here at the scene, police recovered 3 live 9mm rounds. The shooter did not rob the victim afterwards. Police are still looking for a motive. And in fact, a law enforcement source tells CBS that investigators at UnitedHealthcare are combing through files. They're searching for a possible motive, looking for possible previous threats. For example, perhaps a disgruntled or recently fired worker. This hotel, of course, located in a busy area. This is just blocks from the Rockefeller Center where the annual tree lighting ceremony will take place tonight. So, of course, a lot of tourists and visitors not only staying here at the hotel, but also in the area. The NYPD telling us in this press conference just moments ago that there will be a massive police presence around the tree lighting, that it will still go ahead tonight, but they still want people to come out, enjoy, have a good time. There will also be additional police in the subway. Police or people staying here at this hotel when we first got here this morning, absolutely shocked. In fact, we spoke to a man who was sitting in his car when he heard the gunshots. Here's what he had to say.
Shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas towards Central Park, where at 6:48 a.m. we have the shooter riding this bike into Central Park at Center Drive. At the scene, we recover 3 live 9mm rounds and 3 discharged 9mm shell casings. The motive for this murder currently is unknown, but based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear that the victim was specifically targeted.
I was holding my phone, then I hear the shot. I was shocked, because this is the first time I see crime in front of me. I was shocked. And I feared that he could shoot me too.
I'm here at 6:30 in the morning. I see police coming and ambulance like that. I'm not see somebody shot.
Now, back out here, sources also telling us that police are gathering surveillance video of all these buildings near the shooting, trying to determine the identity of the shooter as well as his movements before and after the shooting. New York Taxi and Ubers, they are equipped with GPS, and they're providing investigators with information. Taxis and Ubers that were in the area of the shooting, those could possibly be used as well. Subways are also being looked into. They're equipped with cameras. Those are being reviewed as well. So again, we do have a photo of that suspect wearing a black face mask, a gray backpack, fled through a walkway, police tell us, next to Ziegfeld Ballroom, and then hopped on a bike to get away, was last seen in Central Park. So again, Chris, a manhunt underway this hour, and we will continue to bring you the very latest as we get it. From Midtown, Natalie Duddridge, CBS News, New York.
And Natalie, to play off some of your reporting right there, that distinctive backpack, something that the police officials brought up, something that's obviously a highlight to them as they search for this suspect. The GPS, which you mentioned, GPS is equipped on City Bike, so they're working with City Bike to learn more of the suspect, where he actually went from Central Park to what his next move was. And of course, we've been talking about this silencer the last couple of minutes, listening to our eyewitness right there saying they heard shots would maybe contradict that, and police officials have not confirmed the actual use of a silencer yet. The biggest issue here is what is the connection between the victim and the suspect. Our team coverage continues now with Jessica Moore. She's live in Midtown with more on the victim. CEO Brian Thompson, this father of 2 from Minnesota. Jessica.
Well, Chris, as you said, father of 2, we've learned that he was active in his community in Minnesota. He had just flown into New York City on Monday, staying at the Marriott Lux Hotel just a couple of blocks here from the Hilton, where he was set to address investors for the 2024 UnitedHealthcare Investors Relations Conference when he was gunned down early this morning. Thompson was 50 years old, based in Minneapolis. The company's executives this week were expected to provide updates that could influence investor decisions, things like earning announcements and guidance updates. The conference was set to be live streamed from a hotel ballroom starting at 8 o'clock this morning. UnitedHealthcare confirms Thompson has been the CEO of that company since April 2021, but he had been with UnitedHealthcare since 2004, serving as the head of government programs, including Medicare and retirement. According to his LinkedIn page, Thompson was valedictorian of his class at the University of Iowa. He even posted on LinkedIn that he viewed his role at UnitedHealthcare as vital to helping people who needed access to affordable health care. As you've said, Investigators do believe Thompson was targeted, but they don't know how the gunman would have known Thompson's schedule. We have seen UnitedHealthcare actually put out something that this investors conference was happening this week, but no word on how the gunman would have known exactly when he was going to be speaking. A Hilton spokesman tells CBS News New York, quote, "We are deeply saddened by this morning's events in the area, and our thoughts are with all affected by the tragedy." UnitedHealthcare confirms the investors conference has now been canceled. As we've been mentioning, UnitedHealthcare is, of course, based in Minneapolis. We saw a tweet earlier today from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz saying this is horrifying news and a terrible loss for the business and healthcare community in Minnesota. Minnesota is sending our prayers to Brian's family and the entire UnitedHealthcare team. The NYPD said in their press conference just a few moments ago that they are actively interviewing Thompson's family members, co-workers, to try to find out what kind of connection there might have been, any kind of grievances that he might have been dealing with, or any kind of threats that may have led to his murder. Chris?
All right, Jessica, yeah, it's fascinating to see these details that are continuing to unfold. This meeting was set to begin at 8 a.m. this morning and be live streamed to investors, and Brian Thompson made his way across the street from the hotel he was staying at to the New York Hilton when he was shot on the street at 6:46 this morning. And apparently, according to police officials, the gunman was lying in wait about 5 minutes before his arrival at that time. So somehow, some way, these paths were able to cross. And the connection here, as I said, which we don't know about at this point, is going to provide quite a bit of insight into who this person is and why this person targeted Brian Thompson. This shooting all unfolding not far from where the Rockefeller tree lighting is set to happen tonight. Many resources are dedicated to finding the suspect, as you can imagine, and keeping New Yorkers and tourists safe. Marsha Kramer, live at police headquarters with more on the security to be expected tonight. Marsha?
Well, you know, with the tree lighting at Rockefeller Center, just blocks from where this incident happened, both Mayor Adams and the police commissioner, new police commissioner Jessica Tisch, wanted everybody to know that this was not a random act, that this was a premeditated act, and that people who were going to go to the tree lighting should feel safe, that they can go there and be safe.
A video canvas, but we're going to be clear to New Yorkers, this does not appear to be a random act of violence.
Every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. Millions of people will be enjoying the tree lighting tonight, among other holiday events, and the NYPD will be out there with them, keeping them safe.
Now, the chief of the department, Jeff Mavry, made sure to tell people that he will have extra police at the tree lighting so people will be safe, and they shouldn't take this as a sign that they should stay away from this event. But I want to talk to you about several of the clues that the police say that they found. First of all, a cell phone that was found in the alley. The detectives say that they're looking at it forensically to see if there are fingerprints that they can trace to the person who may have committed this thing, and if it is all related to the shooter. But they're also looking at the clue about the city bike to see if they can find out if he used a credit card to rent the bike and if they can get a name from that. They're also trying to get video because they say he's wearing a distinctive gray backpack, and they say that that could be a clue, and they're going around. They have video of him in Central Park. They're going to look for see if there's any video other places where they can see him riding the bike with that backpack. That's all we have for now. I'm live at police headquarters. Marsha Kramer, CBS News, New York.
You know, I know, Mary, that they're talking about obviously making sure everyone is safe tonight for the tree lighting ceremony, and that this was a targeted attack, and the general public doesn't have much to worry about, Marsha. But at the same time, there still is a killer who was brazen enough to shoot someone in Midtown Manhattan this morning at the beginning of the morning rush that is still on the loose at this hour. So this shooting is obviously prompting shock from both tourists and New Yorkers in Midtown. John Diaz is now live from the scene with more on that for us. John?
Yeah, Chris, definitely indeed. You know, you just heard top brass saying that people should not be afraid, right? But we've been speaking with New Yorkers and tourists alike, and they're still saying that, listen, they're hearing all the facts of this, what exactly happened, but it is still sparking some worry for them. Now, we're standing here live at the scene here in Midtown Manhattan as we zoom down the street here. This is giving you a different vantage point of what you saw in Jessica and Natalie's reporting. This is on the other side of the crime scene. You can still see this is an active scene. We counted at at least 7 evidence cones down here, and they're still taking photos and collecting all the information that they can. And as we've been saying, we've been speaking with New Yorkers and tourists, and they're just in shock that this happened. The shooting happened, as we mentioned, just blocks away from Rockefeller tree lighting. So this area, a lot of streets have been blocked off for days now. So a lot of people have been coming over here asking us, oh, is this closed off for the tree? And we're saying, no, there was actually a shooting. They were surprised to hear what unfolded. Take a listen.
It could happen anywhere, but Christmas here in Manhattan.
It's crazy. It's truly crazy because this is an area I walk down every single morning, and it's really sad to see what happened to him and that someone could be preying on you.
And a live look back out here at the scene. Again, you can still see detectives over here photographing some evidence. We are told that police are currently interviewing possible eyewitnesses at this time again. And as we continue to mention that Rockefeller tree lighting, right, that's happening tonight. But this is right by where the Rockettes performed. You know, this is an area where we will be seeing a lot of tourists. And we're in the thick of the holiday season. So, of course, safety concern is just on the mind of so many people, especially since that gunman is still at large. For now, though, Chris, we'll send it right back to you.
All right, John Diaz for us in Midtown. John, thank you. And on the phone now, we have Richard Esposito, our CBS News law enforcement contributor and former deputy commissioner of the NYPD. Rich, thanks for taking a few moments to talk with us about the procedure of what's happening here. Some of the things we do know, escaped on a city bike. City bikes have GPS. Apparently a phone in the alleyway where the suspect was trying to escape has been recovered. They're going to forensically go through that phone. And as you know, there is video all over the city, and they do have some images of the suspect. How does that all play into how quickly they're able to possibly apprehend this suspect? All right, we don't have Richard right now. We're going to move on. Hopefully we can come back, reestablish our connection with him. But we'd like you to keep it right here for continuing coverage of the fatal shooting of the UnitedHealthcare CEO. We'll have crews working every angle of this story all night long. Look for live reports tonight on CBS News New York beginning at 5, and updates anytime on our website at cbsnewyork.com. We'll have updates for you here during this broadcast as well when we get more information. It seems to be changing and pouring in every few moments. Well, still ahead here, we're going to get a check of your first alert forecast as we track some rain and snow for tomorrow, and also ahead day 2 of jury deliberations in the subway chokehold trial. We're at court with what the jurors are asking about the case as we await a verdict here on day 2 of deliberations. And the woman accused of sneaking onto a JFK flight to Paris without a ticket, pictured right there, okay, on another flight, where she is headed now and what's next for her. Plus, transgender rights taking center stage at the Supreme Court today. We break down the impact of this Tennessee case coming up next.